So, hi everyone, welcome to the session 4 of the Carbon Table.
70 to 90% and sometimes even more.
Importance of supplier visibility and the organization.
Biggest challenge is the cost. So
It's a very important question, and even it's
the challenges when brands
they're quite clear about what they want.
So, hi everyone, welcome to the session 4 of the Carbon Table. So, most organizations have sustainability commitments, very few have operational infrastructure to back them up. So, today's topic, which is operationalizing procurement-led decarbonization across supply chains, this is what it actually looks like in practice. So, it is all about how you identify low carbon suppliers, verify their credentials, and also build sourcing decisions that genuinely move the needle on emissions and not just on paper. So that is what today's session is all about. We have some wonderful speakers with us today, and the session would be moderated by Nidhi from Fitsol. So let's begin. We will start with our Mission Live video, after which Nidhi will take over.
We are just a tiny speck in this vast universe. But are we sure the truth is only what meets the eye? Think again. This is our doing. We have plagued and poisoned Mother Earth with our selfish motives. India, known for large-scale behavioral change programs, has once again recognized the urgency and has led the global alliance with Mission Life.
मिशन लाइफ क्लाइमेट चेंज के खिलाफ लड़ाई का लोकतांत्रिक डेमोक्रेटिक एक प्रकार से उसका विस्तार कर रहा है, जिससे हर कोई अपने सामर्थ्य के हिसाब से योगदान दे सकता है। मिशन लाइफ इस बात पर भरोसा करता है कि छोटे छोटे प्रयासों का भी व्यापक प्रभाव हो सकता है। मिशन लाइफ हमें प्रेरित करता है कि हम सब अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में ऐसा बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं जिससे पर्यावरण की सुरक्षा हो।
Revolutionizing general outlook, our Prime Minister envisions to change individual and community behavior to bring in significant impact on the environmental and climate crisis. Life's objective to take individual and collective action for protecting and conserving the environment. Looking to bring in paradigm shift, Mission Life envisions 3 core transformations: change in demand, change in supply, and change in policy. Simplistically put, Lifestyle for Environment is a mission to help you identify simple acts in our daily lives that can contribute significantly to climate change. The ideology is designed keeping in mind that the actions would be specific and measurable, easy to practice by individuals, communities, and institutions, and non-disruptive to ongoing economic activity, and in fact, promoting economic activity on the foreseeable future. So, let's take a pledge today and show to the world that we are environmental conscious and can lead the path for the world to follow. Lifestyle for Environment.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the another edition of the Carbon Table. I am Nidhi, your moderator, and I'm the part of Fitsol Supply Chain Solutions team. My role revolves around helping organizations identifying gaps in monitoring and managing their carbon emissions across Scope 1, 2, 3 category. I work closely with businesses to understand their sustainability challenges and guide them throughout their journey towards achieving their net zero goals. Through this carbon table, our objective is simple: to bring together industry leaders and practitioners to have more honest, practical conversation about what sustainability looks like beyond report, targets, and commitments. So today's discussion focuses on a topic that is becoming increasingly important for the organization across industries: operationalizing procurement-led decarbonization across supply chain. And to help us unpack this topic, we are joined by 2 exceptional industry leaders. First, we have Mr. Navin Malhotra, Program Manager, Group Portfolio Sustainability at Capgemini. Welcome, Navin.
Thank you.
Navin has extensive experience working on enterprise sustainability initiatives, supplier engagement, Scope 3 strategies, and helping organizations embed sustainability into business operations and procurement process. Also joining with us is Jasmine Kaur, founder of Vera. Jasmine works closely with brands and suppliers on sustainable packaging solution and bring a unique perspective on how material choices, supplier collaboration, transparency, and innovation can significantly influence a company's sustainable outcome. Welcome, Jasmine. Thank you, both of you, for joining us today. So let's begin with a question that sits at the heart of today's discussion. And Naveen, let me start with you first, and then Jasmine, I would love to hear your perspective as well. So, we often hear that procurement is becoming one of the most powerful levers for decarbonization. But is this transformation actually happening on the ground?
Uh, it's a very important question, and even it's linked with the topic as well. So, if you ask me, yes, it has quietly become one of the most important levers for decarbonization. Many of the, groups or the organizations don't think that way. But if you look at across the industries, around 70 to 90%, and sometimes even more of the enterprise emissions sit in the scope 3, which is nothing but the supply chain related emissions, which means those are also tied to the suppliers, the logistics, and the goods which we purchase from our suppliers. So every procurement decision, what we buy from, how we contract, and what criteria we are setting with the suppliers, it directly shapes, the climate impact. But the challenge is that, if we talk about procurement, it was mainly about cost, volume, all the delivery. But now, as we are seeing, that is turning into as a strategic function, which also drives compliance, resilience, and the carbon outcomes as well. And of course, our participants who are from procurement or the supply chain functions will resonate that the shift is happening, but it's very uneven. Some of the organizations are embedding carbon into procurement scorecards, whereas others still treat sustainability just as a reporting exercise. So that's what I see, how the procurement is turning out as a lever for decarbonization.
Right. That's very interesting perspective, Naveen. You have highlighted the importance of supplier visibility and the organizational alignment. Jasmine, from the perspective of packaging ecosystem, are you seeing any similar challenges when brands engage with the suppliers?
So I think, of course, there are a couple of challenges. The biggest challenge is the cost. So you start with a number of parameters, and of course, it depends on what kind of brand you are dealing with. So let me break it down a little bit. So there are certain brands which have existed in the market for over decades. The ones you call the legacy brands. They're quite clear about what they want. They have their own sustainability goals. They have EPR mandates. They have ESG mandates. So they want to shift, but for them, price sensitivity is an issue. And it's the same for small brands as well. Secondly, despite the fact that there are a lot of material options today in the market, which are bio-based, which are rPETs, and apart from that, there's PCR, the problem comes down to performance. So, they have their own performance standard. So is the new material matching the performance standard which the previous material was matching? So one is performance standards, second is cost, third would be certifications. If you're claiming that something is compostable, something is biodegradable, are there any certifications? Do you have the data to back it up? So there are a number of challenges that you have to face with such brands. On the other hand, with smaller companies, which are not even a decade in the market, for them, it's more about their own brand visibility. They are themselves sustainable companies, and it's the narrative that they're building. For these companies, the challenge is always cost. They don't care that you have a data, you have compliances in place, but they do care because for them, even a 1 rupee increase in the price of their packaging is going to impact their users and the end client. So price is a common metric, but for bigger brands, data as well as performance standards do matter a lot.
Great. Yeah, that's fascinating. What stand out is while the challenges may appear different, both perspective point towards the same date, which is strong collaboration and better transparency across the value chain, right? So, the three challenges that you have highlighted about the price issue, performance standard, and the certification, of course, yes, this is there in the market. I mean, combining all the suppliers need. Next question for me, for Naveen, I would like to ask, like Naveen, for most organization, we agree that scope 3 emissions are important, right? But where does supplier visibility usually break down? Is it primary a data challenge, a process challenge, or a collaboration challenge, according to you?
Well, I would say it's all the three. Data is, of course, patchy. As Jasmine also mentioned, for the smaller suppliers, it's a challenge, not only just from bringing the sustainable products into the market because of the cost part of it, but also they lack the infrastructure to say report those emission numbers as well. Because right now, if you have to procure certain tools, it comes with a hefty cost, right? And even CDP, which is the world's largest database of supplier emissions, it also reports that only about 41% companies disclose supply chain emissions. Even the larger suppliers are not able to provide the correct data to them for the emissions perspective. From the processes side, yes, as we just spoke, that procurement processes are built for cost and delivery, not for the carbon. And again, if we talk about the collaboration, it's very, very important, but currently it's very, very limited. Even if you look at within an organization, there are different departments like procurement, finance, and sustainability, but they often work in silos. They don't work as a single team. So just like if you look around the security landscape, it is everybody's responsibility. Same way, we need to see that sustainability should also be everyone's responsibility, though there would be certain specific teams who would be accountable for that. So now, again, when these challenges around data, processes, and collaboration, when they come together, the scope 3 visibility further breaks down. And the procurement teams then start relying only on the estimates rather than on the verified or the actual data for the emissions. And the suppliers also then see sustainability as a burden rather than a shared goal. So again, you should have integrated systems and the collaboration, then only the scope 3 will remain visible. Otherwise, it will be very difficult, to reduce the scope 3 emissions as well. And that's what is happening today.
Right. And how difficult it is for organizations to align sustainability goals which with cost, quality, and delivery expectations. How you can align like both the challenges over here?
Yeah, well, it's not simple. It's very difficult. And even if you look at the current geopolitical challenges which are happening, it is making it more harder. So inflation are rising, energy shocks are there, and the supply chain disruptions are also happening. What it has made, it has made the companies to, get into the cost containment mode. And whenever that happens, especially the procurement leaders, they are tasked to, deliver savings and not increase the spend at all. And that's where I guess what Jasmine also mentioned, the cost of, say, a sustainable product, right? Because it comes with a premium. Now, when we have a cost containment measures in place, it becomes very, very difficult to, get into those kind of initiatives where you start buying those sustainable products, be it recycled materials or say low carbon logistic, etc. But yes, embedding sustainability into procurement means accepting those premiums. But then again, when the budgets are tight, the sustainability get deprioritized, which is the very sad part. But again, that's the core reality of today's world.
Right. Agreed, Navin. So, my question is to Jasmine now. So, Jasmine, as you are dealing with the packaging and that to the sustainable one, so when brand commit to a sustainable packaging goal, how often do those commitments actually become an actionable requirement for the suppliers?
So I think a lot of brands today, because of the EPR mandates that they have on them, and also they have set themselves 2030 goals. They have set, single-use plastic reduction goals. So they're very clear about their goals. The problem actually comes down in the pathway to achieve that goal, because today there are so many options on the table. So they struggle with what kind of, let's start with material innovation. So in material innovation, you might have the option of bio-based materials. You have the options of recycled materials. You have PCRs. So a number of options on the table. So the pathway becomes really complex, which material is the best way to go forward, which would be most cost effective, parallelly being the one which reduces the most amount of emissions and which has the less embedded carbon emissions, less embedded carbon. So that pathway becomes really, really unclear for these brands, going forward. Apart from the goal setting is very easy, but now this was the material challenge. Then comes the design challenge. Apart from that, there would be a challenge, how maybe there's also an option on the table that we should just reduce the content, maybe reduce the thickness, by reducing the microns, we can actually reduce the cost of the material. So with so many options on the table, it becomes really, really difficult for the brands to make those decisions. And this is despite the fact that they have special sustainability teams in place, and they can go ahead and do LCAs, and these exercises are really expensive as well as really time taking. Now, once you have done that exercise, you have to also ensure that the material that you're choosing is also meeting the performance standards of the products that you're already utilizing. So it becomes a really, really complex decisions. And goals are there, the intention is there, but the pathways have become really complex. So that's where the brands are struggling.
Great, understood. So now I would love to, love both of you to weight it on it. Like, how important is transparency today? Can organizations realistically decarbonize without their visibility into supplier and material level data?
Again, transparency is very, very important, Nidhi. Even if you see, you say that I'm using 30 or 40% of recycled material, we need to show with the related certificates as well, because even the auditors, when you go and get audited for your materials, they would ask for those details. And even some of your customers, when you sell these products to them, especially those are the corporates, they really want to see those certificates, those validations in terms of the transparency, that what you are saying, is it really achievable by you or not? Otherwise, you can go and write anything on the paper that I'm providing you 60 or 70% of recycled material. But whether it is really 60-70% recyclable or not, this is where those certificates come into the picture. And transparency is very important because it will build the trust. So once, for example, you are not able to show them the evidence for what you said, that kind of reputational risk also, you live with that, right? So transparency today is very, very important, and you can't just write anything on the paper. Nobody is going to believe it.
So I actually concur on this. So transparency from the side of the brands is mandated by a lot of regulations. You have there's audits that happen, and you have to declare them in your reports. But on the supplier side today, anybody which is a new material company, until unless you don't have the data to back what you're claiming, you're claiming that your product is compostable. If you don't have the data to back it, your entire brand positioning goes into the bin. Your entire brand positioning, different from a traditional supplier, is that we are compostable. So in order to back that claim, you will have to have your CPETs and third party valuations, etc. So it's very important, both from supplier perspective and from brand perspective.
Great. So what we are hearing is that challenge isn't the lack of ambition. The challenge is converting ambition into visibility into accountability, and accountability into actions, right? So now that we have explored the challenges, dig deep into solutions. What separates organizations that are making progress from those who are still struggling? And my question is to Naveen, like, how does a mature supplier sustainability program actually look like?
Well, it's a very good question to understand that, how we envisage a mature supplier sustainability program with all the challenges we discuss about the process, the data, the cost, etc. So again, aligning to those challenges, the very first, lever would be around the verified supplier data, not estimates, not based on any kind of approximations, but on auditable numbers. I know that's not easy, it's difficult. But again, if I talk about a mature supplier sustainability program, that is the first line where we have to really work on that, how I'm going to get a verified supplier emission data. It's a challenging one because my suppliers maybe a matured one, but then my supplier may not be a matured one, or maybe a small suppliers, they may not be able to having that data. But that is the first line, that you need to have those verified supplier emission data. Second is about, you need to include the carbon clauses in your contract with the supplier. This is something new. We had a lot of other clauses which we have with the suppliers in terms of cost, timelines, or SLAs and the KPIs, but rarely we see the KPIs or the SLAs related to the carbon around with the supplier, because that will make sustainability a commitment from your suppliers as well, rather than just writing it on the paper. Third is, again, which is very important, is about the dashboards, because that will help you or help the organization, the leadership, to take a decision based on that data related to the carbon. Even if I look at today, a lot of procurement dashboards are again circling around cost, quality, and timelines. Even if they have to rank the suppliers, they rank on these three parameters only. But again, this is a third angle. Include carbon into those dashboards as well, so that you can make a right decision that which supplier I'm going to pick, so that I can decarbonize my supply chain. And last but not the least, and we have spoken about that, is about the collaboration with the suppliers. We wanted not to take supplier as a supplier, but more as a partner. We have to work together with them to design the solutions, co-create the innovations, share the costs, and innovate with them as well. Because that will also help not only us in the supplier, but the entire value chain as well to, decarbonize. And that's how a mature supplier sustainability program looks like.
Right, right, Naveen. So Jasmine, would love to hear your perspective on that also. Like, at what point does sustainability stop being just a reporting exercise and start influencing suppliers' sectional decision? Like, as we know, as many organizations still treat sustainability as a separate initiative, right? So how can procurement teams embed sustainability into everyday decisions making?
So honestly, I would say that despite the regulations being in place and the mandates being in place, we are still, as an industry, not that mature that we would prioritize sustainability over our procurement costs. And there are a number of reasons for it, because the procurement teams for every, even for every SKU, like for example, for a big company, they have a number of SKUs. For every SKU, there is a different sales team, and every sales team has a separate target, and their incentives are based on it. So if they choose to increase the cost of the product because they have chosen a better packaging, so their own incentives are going to go down. So it is more of a human exercise that we stop seeing, and we always see it from a systems lens, but when you dig deeper, you understand it's a more of a human exercise. A lot of salaries, incentives are dependent on those decisions. So a lot of departments don't choose to go forward with those particular decisions as well. So sustainability won't be prioritized without the mandates. Honestly, the mandates have been the kickstarters, and they have been the ones which have been pushing the industry in that particular direction. Eventually, I think we will reach a stage where the new age material will be able to compete with the fossil derived packaging material. The cost will be at parity, and at that point, the priority will shift in the industry without the mandates being in place, because I do see a shift in the terms of mentality and this realization that there is a geopolitical risk with fossil derived packaging. There is a climate assessment risk with fossil derived packaging, and a lot of companies are realizing this. The Hormuz crisis made a lot of companies realize that packaging costs can go up, and it's not something that you can control. So that realization has started coming in. But despite that realization, still the cost is going to be the primary lever in which the decisions are going to be made. And it will take a lot of times for that balance and that price parity to reach and the decisions to shift. So we have to wait it out, and we have to let the market play.
Right. And what do you think, Jasmine? Like, what role does supplier collaboration play in achieving meaningful emission reduction in the same way? And if we bring that into packaging specifically?
So I think the collaborations have picked up a lot. I think in the last 5 years or so, a lot of companies have come forward and they've launched these innovation challenges, and they've launched sustainability programs, and they're building cohorts of startups. They're actually mentoring those startups, giving them network access, business development access, and also helping startups to develop prototypes for the companies. So that collaboration has started beginning. A lot of companies have now become part of the R&D teams for these packaging companies. For a lot of FMCG companies, they have brought in outsiders and they have made them part of the R&D team. So that collaboration is of course picking up, and I think there has become a balance. Before, what used to happen is that new age companies, new material companies used to take a lot of time just to reach a legacy brand, to knock it to their doors. But now they have opened their doors and they welcome them, and they're willing to listen, they're willing to work. So there's already a balance which have come up in the relationship, and I think eventually, as they keep working together and as things reach a certain scale, the cost will also come down, and it would become a natural exercise.
Great. And when it comes to, reducing packaging related emissions, where do you see the biggest impact opportunities, right? Whether it's material selection, lightweighting, reuse, or design optimization?
So honestly, there is no one size fits all approach. It is going to depend on industry to industry. The answer will vary, and not even industry to industry. Within the same company also, different departments might choose to go for a different approach. So there is no one size fits all answer for this. It's going to be customized.
Great. One more question for you, Jasmine. Like, what does a sustainability ready packaging supplier actually look like today?
So any sustainability packaging supplier today has to be adaptable. They have to be compliance ready. They have to be data ready, and they have to be very much willing to understand that the proposition that they are selling to the client might not match the client's needs, and you might have to understand that the SKU that you go forward with, the client might have a different requirement, so you might have to customize according to your client's needs. So you have to be adaptable. So again, adaptability, compliance ready, data ready, these are the things which any sustainable supplier has to be ready with.
Great, great. Thanks, Jasmine. So what I'm hearing is that successful organization, don't treat sustainability as a parallel work stream. They integrate it into procurement process, supplier relation, and decision-making frameworks, right? So we have discussed today challenges and solutions. So let's look ahead. So my question is to Navin. So in next 5 years, Navin, do you see carbon performance becoming a standard supplier evaluation metric alongside cost, quality, and delivery?
I'm not sure if 5 years it would be possible, but yes, uh, carbon will sit alongside cost, quality, and delivery as a baseline matrix. Uh, and just as the financial disclosures are currently non-negotiable today, right? You have to disclose your financial reports every quarter, no matter whether you are a big organization or a small corporate. The carbon disclosure will also become the standard. Though the regulations are there, but then we are seeing some of the regulations are slowing down also. A lot of companies are not coming under its purview now because of the changes itself which are coming in regulation. But yes, it will happen, the carbon disclosures. The supplier accountability, which is very important, will move from being optional to mandatory. And the scorecards, which we just discussed about, will also evolve to measure carbon intensity with the same rigor as we currently measure cost and delivery, right? And the decisions from the procurement will also be based on the carbon intensity of the suppliers as well. And this shift will also redefine the competitiveness. Again, the suppliers who are very mature in this will get more contracts, will get more business compared to the other suppliers who are not very mature, right? And they may also face some of the compliance and reputational risk as well, correct? And this will not just happen because of the regulations. In my view, it's more of the demand which is coming from the investors and the consumers as well. Even the investor demands are increasing. They want to invest in the companies which are more greener, and they will stop investing in the companies where they see that they are not doing much from the sustainability standpoint. So yes, I'm not sure 5 years or 10 years, but the shift is happening. But yes, it is going to scale up faster. But then for that, a lot of other changes needs to be done in the industry as well.
Right. And if I ask, like, what internal transformation will organization need to make to achieve a truly low carbon supply chain? So, what will be your thoughts on it?
2 or 3 big shifts needs to be done. One, which we also just spoke about the integrated systems where the carbon data flows seamlessly into the procurement workflows, right? You need not to do any manual interventions or use any other tool. It should be integrated system within the organization. And currently what is happening, that data is sitting somewhere in the ESG report because of the regulatory requirements not flowing into your enterprise system. So that's the first part. Second is about the aligned KPIs, which Jasmine also mentioned. A lot of KPIs are around the cost and the sales, etc., and even the incentives are around that area as well, right? So people want to sell more so that they can have more profits. Carbon is nowhere there at this moment, right? I haven't seen any organization, or maybe very few organizations, where carbon is also part of those incentives and the KPIs, right? And again, it is not just procurement or sustainability. It has to be across your finance department, your operations department, your procurement department. Every department should also have KPIs related to carbon as well. And third, again, we spoke about this, about the supplier partnership. It has to go beyond the compliance, etc. We have to co-invest with them. We have to co-innovate with them. So again, these are some of the shifts which in my point of view, are very important to truly build low carbon supply chains.
Great. And if you had to choose one driver of change from technology, better data, supplier collaboration, or leadership decision making, which one will have the greatest impact?
I guess it has to go all together. You can't pick anyone. From the technology standpoint, if you see, specifically we talk about the AI or the generative AI. It will help you to solve those data problems, picking up the right data, automating your reporting, and also simulate your sourcing, that which supplier you need to buy, which material you need to buy. The technology and the Gen AI can help you. But then the sad part is, which again nobody is currently talking about, the carbon footprint of the Gen AI itself. It eats up a lot of energy, right, and a lot of water as well. A lot of I guess cities in the US are now protesting against the data centers because they are not able to get the water, because the water is to be supplied to the data center. So it should not happen that we focus on solving one problem, but we are creating another problem. So we need to be a little bit cautious on using those technology part. But yes, that is needed, because a better data will build a trust, which you just spoke about, the transparency, etc. If you have a right data, auditable data, it will create the trust and transparency. And again, the supplier partnership, it will help in reducing the cost of transition, because when the entire ecosystem is working on one particular problem, it helps you to reduce the cost as well. And again, the investors and the consumers, they are also pushing this shift. So sustainability is becoming a baseline expectation for the products. But yes, there's still some time to go to actually see that that happening actually on the ground.
Great. Thanks, Navin. Jasmine, now my question is for you. Like, looking ahead, where is sustainability packaging headed? Will a low carbon packaging eventually become a default expectations rather than a premium option?
So I think it should eventually become the default expectation because, as Naveen has already said, that it has to become carbon has to become a metric as part of all the departments across across the company. So eventually, as new material, so innovation is happening in material as well as happening in design, right? So the new materials today, the only problem is that it is not at the price parity as the fossil fuel derived material. But eventually, I think a lot of companies today have been able to reach at about 10% premium, which at like if you take it 5 years back, it used to be a 50% premium. So it's already, is a work in progress. And with putting in a few more time and, more collaboration among ecosystem players, it will come down. So with price parity, it will become a default option, and it has to become a default option because the pull is from multiple directions. If you talk about the backend side, the pull is, of course, as you said, from the investors' perspective, that they are wanting to invest in companies which are more climate ready, which are more, futuristic, sustainable. On the other hand, companies themselves realize that they will reduce the geopolitical risk if they shift away from fossil derived material to agri based, or let's say bamboo based, bamboo biocomposites, etc. And on the other side, the new clientele, the new customers today, they're more conscious about sustainability. So it's also becoming a question of brand value, brand messaging, and they want to relate to the clientele that we are choosing to take conscious decisions towards the planet. So the pull is from both the directions. So that is why it is going to become a default option eventually, as the price parity is going to be achievable. I think it's not a very far away exercise. It's quite near, and we won't be debating anymore about why this is not picking up, because already we are meeting performance standards when it comes to alternative materials, and the design part has already picked up. There is no question of cost in that involved anymore.
Right. Okay, so let's just put some highlights on the EPR part, right? Extended producer responsibility. It's increasing accountability for brands. Is it charging how brands work with packaging supplier, or is it still largely viewed as a compliance requirement when it comes to the packaging?
Honestly, it's largely a package. It's largely a compliance requirement, but I think it's been a good push for the industry. If it was not for EPR, and if you would have said that let the industry move organically, it would have taken a lot more time for the industry to have accepted the new materials, and for the new startups, be it mushroom based, agri based, bio based, to have mushroomed. So these startups have been able to come up, and they have become a sunrise industry. This entire sustainable packaging has become a sunrise industry today because the mandates have pushed a lot of companies to look in that particular direction. If it was not for the mandates, and if you have left it to move organically, it would have taken a lot more time, and a lot more, I think, capital would have gone to have the acceptance of what the material is today. So yes, I would say it's still more of a compliance-led decision, but eventually it would become more of a procurement decision.
Right. So one last question for you, Jasmine, as you are the subject matter expert when it comes to the packaging, right? So what innovation excites you the most in the packaging ecosystem today?
So packaging innovation, two kinds. One is material innovation, and second is design innovation. So material innovation, the shift which is happening away from fossil-derived packaging to more bio-based and compostable range of packaging. So today we have immense amount of options on the table. You have mushroom, you have bamboo, you have agri-waste, you have the PLAs, PHAs, which are all compostable, and then you have the option of home compostability, industry compostability. So the fact that today we have these options on the table, it's no more a question of there is no substitute. There are substitutes. Companies are willing to put the money to it. Companies are aware of it. It's only now a question of how easily and how fast we can reach the price parity. So this innovation is the most exciting, the material innovation. But of course, design innovation is something again which we think that just by changing the shapes of packaging, or by reducing the weight of the packaging, or maybe just by seeing how we can reduce the layers in the packaging, we can make it more sustainable, we can make it more circular. So that's again an exciting innovation, because initially the thought process about packaging used to be about let's just recycle it. Now we are saying that let's redesign it. So that shift from recycling to redesign is something which is very exciting, and something that in the next decade should change how we see packaging as well.
Great. Thanks, Jasmine. So today's discussion has made one thing very clear. The future of decarbonization won't be determined by targets alone. It will be determined by procurement decisions, supplier relationship, material choices, and the operational ecosystem that turns sustainability ambitions into measurable outcomes. I'd like to thank Jasmine and Navin. Now let's open the floor of questions from the audience side. So folks, you are all allowed to put your questions on the chat box, or you can raise your hand. We will start with the Q&A now.
Hi, do we have any questions that you would like to ask the speakers? So, any last ending thoughts, anything that any of you would like to say? Naveen, Jasmine, Nidhi, anyone?
Let me take that up. So, as we discuss in today's topic, that what's happening in the world in the sustainability space, whether it is about scope 3 emissions or about the packaging, one thing is very clear, that now the push is coming more because from the investors and the consumer side. Because for me, regulations are there, yes, you have to follow those regulations, but even the companies will try to find shortcuts. If we just have the regulatory push, they will work only when the investors start pushing them, because that's where the capital, that's where the money is. And most importantly, the consumers who is going to buy your products. If suppose your consumers stop buying your product, you may be totally 100% compliant with all the regulations, you will cease to exist in the world, right? So again, whether it is packaging, scope 3 emissions, ESG reporting, etc., more and more customer demand is coming. And when if I share my experience within my organization, a lot of customers are now asking in our RFPs that what is your performance in terms of sustainability? And it's not just about environment, it's about the social and the governance aspect as well. And they gave a good weightage even at the RFP level. If you are not able to meet their criterias, you will not even go to the next level of RFP discussions. So again, the consumer demand for me is going to be the biggest push in the sustainability space.
Right. I think I agree with Naveen. I think especially the fact that, the next generation, the Gen Z, is quite conscious about ESG, and they are the ones who now go back and actually check the claims, because greenwashing became quite a common thing for brands. They used to claim being compostable or something, and now they are being talked back to, that if you're claiming, please show us a certification for your claims. So that entire holding the brands accountable even for the claims is a new trend and a new direction. It's a good direction that we are taking. But I think one last thing I would add is that something which the brands now they were not able to see initially, but as we talk more to them, and when we try to explain this 10% premium that they have to pay today, we say that why don't you see it that by paying a 10% premium on your product, you might be reducing the cost for your EPR obligation. So you should see that in one equation instead of seeing them as part of two different equations. Once you see them as part of one single equation, it becomes a better financial decision. The problem again, as Navin was also saying, that there are no integrated systems. The procurement and the sustainability teams are working in silos. So more they work together, the finance, the procurement, and the sustainability, the better decision making will happen, and we'll be able to achieve better goals, and we'll have more carbon reduction targets being met. So that's all from my side.
Great. That was a very, very valuable discussion, and I'm sure everybody has a lot of takeaways from this. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Naveen, Jasmine, Nidhi, as well as everyone else who has joined us. And we would also be uploading this webinar on our YouTube channel, and we'll send all of you the link as well. So, do join us for, we have webinars every month, so we would love to have you join us for those as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, and take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good day.
Thank you.
Bye.